Whether thou art a ghost that hath come from the earth, or a phantom of night that hath no home, or one that lieth dead in the desert, or a ghost unburied, or a demon, or a ghoul, whatever thou be until thou art removed, thou shalt find here no water to drink. Thou shalt not stretch forth thy hand to our own. Into our house enter thou not. Through our fence break through thou not. We are protected, though we may be frightened. Our life you may not steal, though we may be scared to death.
Welcome to Scared to Death, Creeps, Peepers, Roberts, and Annabelles. I'm Dan.
Hello, Dan. I'm Lulu Marie.
Hello, Lulu Marie.
I'm in the South, so I have to be Lulu Marie.
We are in the South. Yes, we are recording down in New Orleans, so if this sounds a little bit different, that is why. Or maybe it won't. Maybe we're figuring out how to do it down here and have it not sound different than back in Coeur d'Alene.
We're trying, that's for sure.
So Lynze had just one quick announcement, and then we are off in today's stories.
And this announcement is for anybody who is not already on Patreon with us, enjoying week early, ad-free releases, bonus episodes, getting 20% off your merch discounts, and contributing to the monthly charity. If you're looking for a great holiday gift this season to give or to receive, head on over to patreon.com/scaredtodeath and you can see all the options. There's a $5 a month, a $10 a month. You can gift it to yourself. You can tell your friends and family that's what you want for the holidays. We'd love to see you there. We love the support. If that's not in your wheelhouse, not in your budget, no worries. We're happy to have you here every week as well.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to remind you that it was there.
Yeah. All right. What supposedly true listener tales are you sharing with us this week? From those sent in by our lovely creeps and peepers to mystory@scaredtodeathpodcast.com.
Well, I have 3 stories this week. Each of them is a little brief, but still is the same amount of time I'd be talking any given week. Our first story is strange to explain, and in fact, I don't think that I can. It will make sense once you hear it, but it's about some kind of like coping mechanism that our brains produce in scary situations.
Okay.
I know it's a bit out of our normal
I'm intrigued.
Yeah, a bit out of the normal realm, but I think that everyone will benefit from it. Then in our second story, we are off to Myrtle's Plantation, which for those Roberts and Annabelles that might remember, we covered this in bonus episode number 25 back in October of 2022. So we're headed back down there. And then my third and final story, yes, a little bit scary, also a little bit funny. Can you have a fist fight with a ghost?
I peeked over your notes, just the way we're sitting, and I saw that line, like, can you have a fist fight with a ghost? I was like, oh, all right, I'm very intrigued for that one. I have 2 stories for my first. I have a story about a nearly century-old dybbuk box.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah, hidden inside the walls of a 1930s Cleveland brewery. Resurfacing in a family home outside Chicago, unleashing tapping in the walls, violent hallucinations, and an entity with broken hands that wants a new host.
Can I get an OH?
I-O.
Thank you.
For my second, I'll share the story of Duke Mansion, an old Charlotte, North Carolina estate, hiding a very sad and romantic haunting.
Okay.
The tragic, lingering love story of John Avery and Maggie Blake. But it's poignant. I don't know. It's a beautiful but sad story.
Cool.
Yeah,
so get the tissues.
Once you've shown me this week's spoopy socks, I will show you my first story.
Ooh, I know. Aren't these? Ooh, I just bit my own tongue.
Oh,
Holy
no.
Hades. Bit my own tongue as opposed to who else's tongue would I bite when I'm speaking? You never know. Someone gave me these awesome socks on the Crime Wave at Sea cruise that we were just on a few weeks ago. They're black with a skeleton and roses. They're actually really like high contrast and very cool.
Very cool.
Thank you, whoever gave them to me. I'm sorry. It was in a hectic moment, passing in the night on the ship, I'm sure. So apologies, but my gratitudes.
Yes. Yeah, those are awesome looking socks. Okay. So here we go.
Here we go.
When people talk about dybbuk boxies today, dybbuk boxes, I think I said boxies, they usually mean the kinds of things you buy on eBay. Little wooden wine cases with Hebrew carvings, a few dried flowers or fake teeth or old coins inside. Fun props for ghost hunters and paranormal collectors, but ultimately nothing more than creepypasta. But behind the hype is something older and darker, something that actually truly terrified the communities that once believed in these things. The Jews of Eastern Europe, for instance, believed that the dead did not always stay dead, especially when the person had died violently, suddenly, or in the midst of committing a grave sin. They believed those souls sometimes clung to this world, unable or unwilling to move on. Some people of the Jewish faith still believe this. And those tortured souls are called dybbukim. Most stories about them are just that, stories, warnings wrapped in folklore. But some accounts, perhaps, are different. The ones that read less like cautionary tales and more like documentation. And the supposedly true story you're about to hear, one that spans nearly a century, it belongs to that second category. If true, it began before World War II, and then resurfaced less than 10 years ago when a man in Chicago inherited a wooden box his grandfather should have never taken. This is an unverified but detailed account from someone identifying themselves only as Aaron K. He claims that what happened to him and his family was a direct result of a sealed ritual box crafted in 1933, what the man who made it called a tavat klalat. It's a Hebrew word, a little tricky for me to say. Tavat klalat, a curse box is what it translates to. A prison for something that was never supposed to be released. Time now for the tale of the Brewer's box. This story begins in Cleveland, Ohio during the Great Depression. The city was full of breweries back then. Large ones, small ones, legal ones, plenty of ones that were not so legal. One of the smaller ones, quite small and legal, I believe, was apparently owned by an immigrant named Samuel Resnick, a man who came to Ohio from Poland just before the First World War. Resnick was known as quiet, hardworking, and deeply religious. He kept kosher, he prayed 3 times a day, and though he brewed beer, he didn't drink as much as you might expect. He treated his work like science. In the winter of 1933, Cleveland police recorded a strange incident, a break-in at his brewery. The burglar would never be arrested because he never even made it out of the building alive. Workers arriving early one morning found the intruder, later identified as a drifter named Benjamin Benny Rhodes, dead inside one of the bottling rooms. His neck had been broken and his hands had been crushed and twisted, as if trapped in some machinery. But none of the machines were supposedly running that night, and there were no signs of a struggle. The police would call it a tragic accident, but Resnick told a very different story to the rabbi who handled his congregation. He said the man had been chased and punished, not by a security guard or another worker, but by something he could not see, some type of spirit. He told the rabbi that over the days following the drifter's death, he heard footsteps around the empty brewery at night, bottles rattling, breathing in the dark, and then he began waking up gasping for air, like someone was holding a hand over his face. He believed that Rhodes' spirit had become trapped inside the brewery and that it was furious. Resnick allegedly begged the rabbi for help before the spirit, quote, made a host of him. And that rabbi, a traveling teacher named Isaac Mendelssohn, agreed to perform something rarely done and almost never documented. A binding ritual, meant not to expel a spirit but to trap it inside an object. A small one, something easy to bury or hide where no one would ever disturb it again. The object chosen was a wooden wine box made of oak, old and brought from Poland where Resnick had immigrated from. Mendelssohn lined the interior with parchment strips, inked with Hebrew scripture. He added iron shavings wrapped in cloth, a vial of salt, a small amulet inscribed with one of the names of God. Then he sealed the box with dark red wax, wrapped it tightly in twine, and instructed Resnick to hide it, to never open it, to never even touch it again if possible. The rabbi described the ritual as dangerous and incomplete, saying one should only bind a dybbuk temporarily until it could be properly destroyed. And maybe Resnick intended to destroy it. But with his problem seemingly solved for the moment at least, perhaps he just never got around to it. He hid the box in the walls of his office, and for decades it stayed there. By the 1970s, his old brewery had been abandoned for quite some time already, and then the building it was once in was slated for demolition in 1977, long after Resnick himself had passed away. A small crew of contractors, mostly local Cleveland men, began tearing down the old brick structure, and one of those workers was Elliot K., said to be the grandfather of the man Aaron who submitted his story. According to Aaron, who heard all of this from his grandfather, 3 different workers fell seriously ill within days of beginning that demolition job. One man suffered violent seizures at home. Another claimed he kept hearing tapping inside his bedroom wall and refused to return to work. A third died in a machinery accident on site. During the demolition, Elliot uncovered a small wooden object inside a wall cavity, tucked deep behind cracked plaster and a support beam. He said it was a weird little wine box, old, smudged with ash and wrapped with brittle twine. Elliot thought it looked interesting, maybe valuable, and definitely unusual. So he brought it home, but according to Aaron, Elliot never opened it. He seemed to have an inkling of what it might be. He kept it in a workshop cabinet for decades, and when he died, it passed to his son and eventually to Aaron. Still sealed, still bound with old wax and twine. For years, it sat untouched in a cardboard box in Aaron's attic until 2018. Aaron's account begins when he and his wife were moving into a new house outside Chicago with their 4-year-old daughter, Miriam. During the unpacking, he found the old wine box his grandfather had left him. He didn't recognize the Hebrew inscriptions or know the history, but he liked unusual antiques, and the box seemed harmless to him, just another heirloom. So he placed it on a high shelf in his home office. Right away, he noticed some odd things. First, the wax. The wax seal was cracked, but not from age. He wrote that the inside of the crack looked soft, like it had melted recently. Second was the wood. There were slide marks on the bottom as if the box had been scraped across something, but the shelf he had sat it on was smooth. And the third thing was the heat. Sometimes when he picked it up, the wood was warm. Not warm like warm from sunlight, warm like somebody else had been holding it. Still, Aaron chalked it up to old wood in his imagination. But then the tapping began. It started a few nights after they moved in. A single tap on the wall behind the shelf that held the box. Then 2 more, spaced a few seconds apart. At first, Aaron assumed it was pipes settling or maybe the house cooling at night. But then he noticed it was always 3 taps, soft and precise, always in the middle of the night, some point between midnight and sunrise. He tried ignoring it until one morning his young daughter, just 4 again, mentioned something chilling at breakfast. The tapping man didn't let me sleep last night. Aaron froze. He asked her what she meant, and she said matter-of-factly, "The man who lives in your room, the one who pushes at the walls. He says he wants out." Aaron and his wife tried brushing it off as a little kid's weird imagination. But that night around 3 a.m, Aaron woke up to a sound that made his blood run cold. More tapping but louder, and it sounded closer, like someone tapping directly inside the house's frame, and accompanied by the sound of breathing. Not steady breathing, not the sound of someone breathing in their sleep either. It sounded like a raspy, wet inhale, followed by a sharp exhale, like somebody gasping for air after maybe being held underwater. Aaron grabbed a flashlight, convinced there was an animal in the walls, and he crept down to the office and aimed the light at the shelf where the box was kept. It was still there, but it looked like it was sitting slightly off kilter. It looked like it had been rotated, like somebody had picked it up, but then set it back down, different than, where it had been resting previously. Then when he touched it, he said the wood felt strangely warm. Over the following week, this activity escalated. The smell came next, a thick, yeasty stink, like some old beer somebody had left out in a dumpster. Came and went randomly. Sometimes he'd smell it in the hall, other times it came from the bathroom, sometimes it came from Miriam's room. Next was sounds from the kitchen. One night, Aaron heard cabinets opening and closing. His first thought was that maybe his young daughter had snuck out to sneak a snack, but when he entered the hallway, he saw her still asleep in her bed. So now afraid somebody might have broken into the house, he went to investigate. The kitchen lights were off as they should have been, but the refrigerator was open. More upsetting, some cabinet doors were swinging slowly, like somebody had just moved them. And then Aaron actually said he saw it. A shadowy figure, the rough shape of a man, hunched over, one arm dangling unnaturally low like it had been broken backwards. The strange figure seemed to turn towards him, and Aaron's flashlight beam caught something wet glistening down its front, like an apron soaked in something dark. The figure's head jerked unnaturally to one side, and in a low, guttural voice, it hissed a single word, "Thief." Aaron screamed, lunged for the hallway switch, but by the time he got the lights on, the kitchen was empty. And now everything was quiet again. But a rotten smell still lingered in the air. Aaron admits he didn't connect all the dots immediately. He wanted to believe it was sleep deprivation and stress, a new house with a new, bigger mortgage, a kid with an overactive imagination. But then he started losing time. He would look at the clock and suddenly an hour had inexplicably passed. He also would wake up with dirt under his nails. His nose would bleed randomly, never badly, but frequently. He found himself scribbling things on scrap paper without remembering, sometimes Hebrew letters he didn't understand. His wife said she heard him muttering to himself at night in a deep voice. It didn't sound like him. And one day she recorded him sleep talking. And when Aaron played it back, it wasn't a voice he recognized. It was a voice that rasped, "Let me in." The next day, the box moved again, this time from the office shelf to the floor beneath it, like it had jumped off. Nobody in the house had touched it. Still, Aaron didn't seek out any help, but then it came after his daughter, Miriam. She was normally a cheerful, fearless kid, but now she began begging not to have to sleep alone. She said, "The man with the broken hands," she saw him standing in her closet. More than once, sometimes perched in the corner, sometimes crawling along the ceiling. She said he kept trying to, quote, "come to the wall." Finally, one night, Aaron woke to the sound of her shrieking, and when he ran to her room, he found the box sitting in the middle of the floor. The lid was slightly open, wax flakes scattered around it, and a dark handprint was on Miriam's leg. She said, "He grabbed me." The print was cold to the touch, as if someone had pressed an ice pack to her skin. Aaron told his wife everything that night. He told her about the tapping, the shadow in the kitchen, the smell, the voice, the lost time, the scribbled words, and she believed him. They contacted several local clergy members before finding someone willing to even look at the box, a rabbi who specialized in Jewish folklore and ritual traditions. The moment he saw the broken seal, the smeared Hebrew, and the scorching on the interior wood, he looked upset. He said the box was never meant to be opened, that it wasn't a keepsake or a curiosity, it was a prison. He asked Aaron where he had gotten it, and when Aaron explained its history, the demolition, the workers, his grandfather, the rabbi's face went pale. He'd heard the original story, and he told them about Resnick and the trapped spirit. He explained that when a dybbuk's prison is breached, the spirit doesn't just want freedom, it wants a new host, a new body and new life. And because children are spiritually vulnerable, it would almost certainly go after his daughter. The rabbi offered to perform a cleansing ritual immediately, and it happened that night. The rabbi set up in the living room, lighting candles, hanging protective amulets, and placing the box still cracked open at the center of a small table. He instructed Aaron and his wife to stand behind him and not speak, no matter what happened. He warned them that if the spirit fought back, they might hear things. Voices, lies, even screams. The ritual began quietly, with the rabbi chanting low, rhythmic Hebrew prayers. The candle started flickering, but the box remained sitting motionless on the table. Then about 10 minutes in, the flames of the candle suddenly shot up nearly 2 feet high. Something slammed against the floor upstairs, something heavy like furniture being thrown. And then they all heard a hoarse whisper come from the direction of the box. "Thief!" Then louder, "Let me in!" The box began to rattle violently. The rabbi screamed a prayer at the top of his lungs, and Miriam, who had been sleeping upstairs, began shrieking. Her voice was thick, guttural, nothing like a child. She stumbled halfway down the stairs and yelled in that same voice they had just heard, "Let me in!" Aaron rushed towards her, but the rabbi shouted at him not to touch her. Instead, he grabbed the open box after the rabbi yelled, "Burn the vessel, now!" Aaron ran to the backyard fire pit, grabbed lighter fluid from the grill, dumped it over the box. His wife brought a lighter with shaking hands, and they set it ablaze. The flames roared instantly, far too big for such a small object. They weren't orange either. They were green, and the fire curled upward, forming an outline just for a moment of a man. The figure shrieked, a sound so high-pitched Aaron winced and covered his ears. The scream felt like it came from inside his skull. And then as quickly as it had risen, the fire died down and the outline vanished. The flames flickered back to normal and the box charred into ash. Meanwhile, inside the house, Miriam dropped gently to the floor and started to cry. Everything unusual, the smell, the tapping, the shadows, it was all done after this. And that was the end of the haunting, almost. Over the next week, the house felt lighter and Miriam slept through the night. The rabbi told him that the ritual had worked. Mostly. The spirit had been successfully expelled and banished, and the box had been destroyed. But he also warned that dybbukim sometimes leave a trace, a faint echo of their presence in the place they tried hardest to cling to. Nothing dangerous. But now, sometimes when Aaron wakes up in the middle of the night, he hears 3 taps in the wall behind his office. Always soft, just barely able to be heard. And he wonders, how can the rabbi be certain that what he hears is truly nothing more than an echo, and not the same spirit growing stronger, waiting to return? He's had another box built just in case this thing, whatever it truly is, needs to be imprisoned all over again.
Love.
Yeah. We haven't had a dybbuk box story you mentioned
In
a while
like
back.
1,000 years, it feels like.
I know they're hard to find.
Well, yeah. I mean, I imagine that they're not super common.
I don't think so.
You know,
Or at least
I don't
not-
even know if it's like a tradition that the Jewish faith practices at this point. So, I mean, he's got
maybe
this
not in the
box, but it's very
States.
old.
Yeah, it might have kind of like once like second generation, like the first, people immigrated, as often, happens with so many cultures, they bring their customs over, but then those customs they don't make it to the next generation.
Yeah,
And definitely don't make it to like the third generation.
sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that. I don't know why it just like cracked me up immediately. It was like, yeah, there were all these breweries in Cleveland. Like, still are. I guess there's some things that
is
just
there
like
is there really a lot of
remain true.
breweries?
Tons.
Funny.
Tons. Yeah, I feel like even though I'm not a beer drinker or anything,
Yeah.
but like my brother is always forever talking about like this brewery, that brewery. Like we had a friend who like became a brewer, then moved to Chicago, then moved to like, I don't know, Wisconsin or something. But like I don't think you and I are super aware of how big like the brewing
subculture is,
microbrew culture is because we're not beer drinkers.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so it was just kind of like cracking me up. I love the story. I mean, I also am really proud of Aaron for having a secondary dybbuk box built just in case. I'm like, Aaron, you answered all my questions. You took care of everything just as I would. Yes, Aaron, I love a tidy tale,
Yeah, you do. Do you want to see some pictures?
I do.
Sorry, you have more?
Oh no, I wrote words are not coming out of my mouth. I wanted to know if you knew what was there now in Cleveland where this was torn down, but then we moved on to Chicago, so you probably don't have that answer.
Yeah, I don't. Well, the exact building was never identified, so I don't know. They said it was demolished 1977, but I don't know for sure which building it was.
Yeah.
Or even the exact name based on what was shared. Like, I don't even know the exact name of the old brewery.
No, it's fine. I'm also always impressed with anybody who can keep kosher. Again, I know that's not super related to the story, but when they said that, it is so much work.
Yeah.
It's so much effort. You have 2 kitchens in your house.
Oh my gosh.
It's very complex. And so I have a great deal of respect for anybody who follows their faith.
Yeah, is that committed?
Yeah, because then it tells me, I don't know, I think it's reflective of like, oh no, I really stick to this.
Yeah. I mean,
at least I hope so. If you're taking it that far, I hope that you really are.
You're showing some discipline with it. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm ready for some photos if you're ready to share.
Yeah, this first one is a pic just of an old dybbuk box from superstitioutimes.com.
Okay.
The website didn't really have a lot of information about it, but just to show like what they can look like.
Yeah, so for anybody who is not looking at photos right now, we'll give you a brief description, but also just a reminder, you can grab all of these on Scared to Death Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and then if you are listening on YouTube, you can look at the YouTube page right now and you should be seeing them.
And then this the second picture is this might be the same box.
I think so.
Yeah, because it's just like very different lighting, but I think it is. This one's from mysanantonio.com, and this box is now in Zach Bagans' haunted museum down in Las Vegas.
Oh yeah.
I think when we told another story about a dybbuk box, like maybe year 1, I think year 1 of the podcast, might have referenced the same pictures. It's hard to find photos of anything supposedly that is a dybbuk box. And this inspired the 2012 horror movie starring Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Kira Sedgwick called Possession. I don't think I ever saw it.
I know, I was going to say
but
that
I'm like, we should.
Yeah, well, I love both of them. And that doesn't stand out. But anyways, anyone who's listening and not looking at photos, it essentially, in this version of the dybbuk box, it looks like a tiny wardrobe. Like,
it's like a little wine box.
Yeah, well, yeah, you could say that too. I was thinking wardrobe because it's like two like dresser, like cabinet, like old school wardrobe. And then it has a drawer at the bottom. And it almost looks like then it would have an enclosure to the outside.
Yeah, to like seal it all together.
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a well-built little thing.
There's not a lot of, maybe, I don't know, maybe I'd have to dig deeper one of these days and find some translated stuff from Hebrew. But, in English, there's not a lot of stuff, information about dybbuk boxes out there.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And for whatever reason, I just don't, I often think of like Asia, specifically Southeast Asia, outside of the U.S., like when I go to horror, or like Eastern Europe or England. I don't think of the Middle East, but I should, because I know there's a lot of lore there.
Yeah, I think like really the only like Middle Eastern entity that we cover consistently is a jinn.
Yeah, and that even we've only done a few stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, friends,
Mm-hmm.
listeners, send us your Middle
Yeah.
Eastern stories. Or even if you don't have one, but if you're like, oh my God, I heard about this
Hell yeah.
creature, this entity, this haunting, this whatever, feel free. You can send it to info@scaredtodeathpodcast.com, and I can then just share it with Dan to say like, hey, somebody suggested you might want to look in this direction.
Absolutely. You ready to leave Cleveland and Chicago for another U.S. city that starts with the letter C?
Oh, I do love Cleveland, but sure, we can move on.
Yeah, let's head to Charlotte, North Carolina. There are places in this country, places we explore virtually every week here on Scared to Death, where the past has not just been preserved, it's been folded into the walls, absorbed into the wood, the stone, the floors. Places that feel as though they remember you when you walk in, where every door opens a little too slowly, creaks a little too loudly, where every room seems to breathe. One of these places sits in the old tree-lined Myers Park neighborhood of Charlotte, North Carolina. A grand white columned estate with a polite southern smile and a very strange secret. Time now for the tale of Dead or Alive. Duke Mansion is steeped in luxury, loss, and one of the eeriest love stories ever whispered in the Carolinas. It's a story that, according to all those who have claimed to experience encounters, isn't yet done playing out. Because even today, even now, guests checking into Duke Mansion sometimes report footsteps in the garden that don't result in footprints, or the feeling of someone brushing past them on the terrace, or strange whispers carried by a cold wind that never seems to come from the weather. And some additionally swear they've seen the two ghosts who started it all. A man in a dark suit with a soft limp, and a woman who returns every year, just as she promised, dead or alive. Duke Mansion didn't begin as the focal point of a haunting. It began as a grand symbol of Charlotte's early 20th century pride. Built in 1915 by millionaire Zeb Taylor, it was one of the first homes in the city's brand new Myers Park subdivision, a visionary garden suburb, packed with winding roads, old growth trees, and the kind of southern charm architectural magazines drool over today. But the home truly transformed when James Buchanan Duke purchased it in 1919. Duke was not just wealthy, he was a duke, son of wealthy tobacco magnate Washington Duke, an industrialist whose fortune built universities, hospitals, and electric power grids that reshaped the South. The kind of man newspapers photographed walking into buildings even when nothing interesting was happening inside those buildings. He bought the mansion and immediately expanded it, nearly tripling its size. Under the roof of his new home, the endowment that gave Duke University its name and Duke Energy were conceived. The house became a hive of ideas, meetings, plans, powerful figures rotating in and out of its wide hallways. And then in 1925, James Duke died suddenly, leaving behind the legacy he inherited and grew that still touches millions of people's lives today. The mansion then passed to another prominent figure, C.C. Coddington, a well-loved Charlotte car dealer and radio mogul. Newspapers raved when he bought Duke's old home. But less than 3 years later, on December 2nd, 1928, Coddington died unexpectedly on a duck hunting trip. The papers reported he had had a heart attack, but locals whispered something stranger. Something that happened the week before his death. Something to do with footsteps heard in the mansion long after everyone had gone to bed, when Coddington supposedly woke in the middle of the night, convinced somebody was in his room. Whether true or not, Duke Mansion was developing a haunted reputation. Over the decades that followed, the mansion passed from owner to owner like a crown that didn't seem to fit anyone for long. The Cannon family, the Linebergers, a wealthy North Carolina textile family, then fires, renovations, abandoned condo plans, and rebuilt foundations. The mansion survived a devastating fire in 1966 that destroyed much of the third floor. It survived being carved up into 5 luxury condos that never materialized. It also survived being nearly gutted and demolished in the 1970s when its future hung by a thread. Finally, in the 1990s, new owners and foundations restored Duke Mansion with the respect and care it deserved, bringing it back to life as a historic inn and event space. And now today it stands elegant and pristine, white columns gleaming, gardens manicured, fountains whispering beneath ancient magnolias. But behind all that polish is a story not told on the tours or printed in the brochures or mentioned on the website, a story that takes place sometime between the Cannons and the Linebergers when a guy named John Avery moved into Duke Mansion with his wife, Anastasia. This is where the story of Duke Mansion's haunting truly takes off. John and Anastasia Avery were not dukes. They were not Cannons. They were not even particularly wealthy by comparison. But they somehow belonged in the mansion more than the others. John was said to be quiet and thoughtful, a lover of literature who kept an impressive library tucked inside the mansion's walls. He also walked with a slight limp, the long-term consequence of a bout of childhood polio, and he carried that pain with a gentleness that made people instantly comfortable around him. Anastasia had once been vibrant, artistic, and fiercely intelligent, but sadly, by the time the Averys moved into Duke Mansion, her mental health had begun to deteriorate. Slowly at first, then rapidly, then frighteningly. The staff whispered that Anastasia wandered the halls at night, mumbling to unseen companions, and that she sometimes stood in the garden for hours, staring at the terrace like she was waiting for someone who never arrived. It said she slept with all the doors open, every room, every hallway, as though closing any of them would suffocate her. John cared for her as best he could, but some storms cannot be calmed by love alone. Eventually, with both heartbreak and, I would imagine, some small guilty measure of relief, he transferred Anastasia to a local psychiatric institution. For the first time in years, John Avery lived in the mansion alone. And the house, for reasons no one could explain, felt different when he did. Quieter in a way that Anastasia's absence did not entirely explain. Lonelier, of course, but also warmer. And it carried an energy as if it was waiting, expecting someone. And then Maggie Blake arrived. Maggie was not a socialite or a wealthy heiress or a donor looking to invest in an old mansion. She was a writer. She'd been assigned to do a human interest piece on the great homes of Charlotte, and Duke Mansion was her crown jewel. She met with John for a simple interview, then for another, and another still. Pretty soon it was apparent that their continued meetings were about more than just work. From the very beginning, they shared a bond. They were both lovers of poetry, both introspective, both drawn to the quieter corners of life. Their conversations often drifted far beyond architecture, toward the books John treasured, the stories Maggie wanted to write, their mutual fascination with storms rolling over the Carolinas at dusk. Their walks through the mansion's gardens grew longer. Their meals together grew more intimate. Their pauses between sentences stretched into an obvious sexual chemistry, neither explicitly acknowledged because there was still Anastasia, ill and unreachable, but alive. Still a woman John would not abandon. Maggie understood the weight of John's vows, the gravity of his guilt, and the depth of his loyalty. And so, although she loved him deeply, she made the decision to leave. And on her last night in Duke Mansion, a violent storm slammed into Charlotte. The old house shuddered under the thunder, lightning flashing across the great white pillars. Rain hammered the terrace and the magnolias bowed under the wind. The fountains churned like something alive beneath the surface. John and Maggie sat together in his library, he with his book, she with her decision, and they both understood that their time together was over. But John asked her for one promise, a strange and dramatic one. One that would have sounded pretty unhinged, if not for the way his voice broke when he said it and the backstory to it. He asked Maggie to return to Duke Mansion 1 year later at midnight, quote, dead or alive. Now, the phrase came from an old poem he loved, a bittersweet line about two lovers kept apart by fate. Maggie, torn, heartbroken, and caught between two worlds, she promised that she would. And the next morning, with the storm still retreating into the distance, she left town without saying goodbye. Life for Maggie after her time with John at Duke Mansion was a pale imitation of life before it. She moved away, tried to forget the man who lived among pillars and shadows and books, but she never stopped writing about him. She published poems under a pseudonym, little coded messages she prayed he would read and understand. The man with the limp, the house with the columns, a love that stood like white stone against the world. And she waited for a reply that never came. Meanwhile, staff at Duke Mansion whispered that John sometimes stood for hours on the terrace at night, staring out into the garden, as though listening for footsteps he couldn't hear, as though waiting for Maggie to appear, or getting lost in his memories of the time he spent with her. Exactly 1 year passed. And when the date arrived, the date of her promise, Maggie indeed is said to have traveled back to Charlotte. Out of propriety, she brought her roommate along with her to Duke Mansion. A woman did not meet a man alone at midnight, at that time, in that place, in that social circle, even under the most romantic circumstances. The air that night was strangely warm for autumn, still and heavy, like the mansion was holding its breath. Maggie walked into the circular garden near the fountains, the very place John had asked her to return to. Her friend lingered at a distance, giving her space. The old brick terrace stretched behind her, the magnolias rustled just slightly, and from somewhere deep within the mansion's darkened windows, a single light flickered once and then went out. As the clock tower in the distance began tolling midnight, Maggie called out John's name. She received no answer. Still she waited. The seconds stretched and her eyes watered. Her heart pounded with hopefulness, though she expected disappointment. But then she heard it. Footsteps, soft, measured, and familiar, coming from the terrace. And then John Avery stepped out into view, wearing a dark formal suit with his hair neatly combed and his face solemn and slightly pale in the moonlight. He walked with his slight, unmistakable limp. "John?" she whispered. He didn't respond. He didn't even seem to see her. He walked straight past her, inches from her shoulder, and Maggie reached out instinctively, desperate to touch him, to stop him, to feel him one last time, but her hand passed straight through him. The cold she felt was immediate, so sharp she gasped. And when she gasped, John stopped. Slowly, painfully slowly, he turned his head toward her, and his lips moved. And in her mind, not her ears, but somewhere deeper, she heard his voice speak. "Dead or alive?" Then he vanished, dissolving like mist. Shaken and trembling, Maggie returned to the city the next day and learned the truth almost immediately. John Avery had died the day before she had visited Duke Mansion. Not at midnight, not waiting in the garden, but in the afternoon. He'd been ill for quite some time and feverish and delirious, and he died clutching a letter he'd written for Maggie, a letter professing his love for her, a letter he could never get past his guilt to send. His final spoken words, recorded by the nurse attending him, were, "Dead or alive, will I make it?" He hadn't made it, but he had still kept the appointment, and so did Maggie. And for the rest of her life, she returned to Duke Mansion every year on the anniversary of that night, walking in the same garden, standing on the same terrace, whispering his name into the same flickering shadows, and supposedly meeting his ghost each time. Some say she was still seen annually long after the mansion became a public inn, and many say she's been seen after she died. The specter of a solitary woman walking slowly through the circular garden, always at midnight, always keeping her promise, and meeting the specter of a limping man who kept his.
That is so sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, so sweet. I mean, and hard and complicated.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like he did love Anastasia and,
Yeah.
you know, he did love Maggie. And I think we see this play out in real life sometimes.
Uh-huh.
I think it's a very relatable story, you know, on the living side of it.
Yeah.
You know, what do you do? What do you
Mhm.
do in one of those situations? Like thinking about our love, it's so deep, it's so
Yeah.
profound, it's so consuming. But what if something does happen? You know, and it's like we're older or whatever. It happens tomorrow. It doesn't matter when it happens. You know, it's like my truest love for you wants you to be happy again. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah,
so
and
it's
vice
like,
versa, same for you. Yeah.
of course, but then when you're the person who is healthy and well
Mhm.
and like trying to navigate this, it's like,
Yeah.
how do you? You know, it's really complicated.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the haunting is like also very sweet.
I know. It reads very much, you know, like, to be honest, you know, it reads very much like urban legend to me, just how like perfectly kind of like romantic and crafted it is.
Yeah.
But it's just such a beautiful story. I
Yeah.
still wanted to share it. I mean, because it's not like I can fact check any of these stories,
Correct.
but I just thought it was it was like a different than I normally tell. And I just, when I first came across, I was like, oh, that's actually really sweet. Sad,
Yeah.
but really sweet.
No, I love it. And I'm glad that you shared it.
Okay, I have a few pictures.
I bet you do. I want to see this
Yeah.
house.
I know the first one.
Woo-wee.
Oh my God, it is spectacular. This is just a cool early evening photo of the gorgeous Duke Mansion from hauntedrooms.com. I mean, that is something.
That is something. It's like a giant squared off U shape, if you can picture it. You know,
yeah.
one side of the house, then across the backs, which would be the bottom of the U, connects the two wings, if you will.
Uh-huh.
And then you have the other side. And I just imagine like a giant ballroom. And, you know, I mean, you can envision a different era.
And then this next picture, really cool aerial shot of the mansion.
Yeah. Okay, so
with
can you like,
downtown Charlotte in the background.
yes, and clearly they rent it out for private events.
Yes,
so
a lot of
looks-
weddings.
I was just going to say, it looks like a wedding is about to happen.
Oh, yeah. I mean, a perfect like wedding venue.
Yeah, very classic, very traditional.
And then this next one, an interior shot. I don't know what room this is. I saw this photos of this room in several places, and no caption identified exactly where it is in the house. But I just thought it's just cool.
I love it. I'm going to guess
chandeliers and the checkered tile.
Probably a lobby, quite frankly.
Yeah. It looks like it's right, like with the windows and stuff, like right when you come in the house.
Or some connective space. But yeah, I love the black and white checkered parquet floor. It's really beautiful.
Yeah, it is really pretty. And then this final one, the garden, where those two star-crossed lovers supposedly still meet up each year.
Can you buy me this house?
I know. Oh my God,
No.
I don't even know how much that house would cost.
I mean, what is always
Holy
so
shit.
fascinating to me about houses like this, mansions like this,
Yeah.
is like, what did they cost then? And excuse me, what would it cost now?
Totally.
And is the cost relatively the same just
No.
based on the era? No, right?
No, I've just only because I've become obsessed with this over the years with Timesuck,
Say more.
with how real estate has not stayed in line with wages.
Uh-huh.
And it is crazy where, I mean, I don't have the figures in front of me, but houses compared to wages now are way more expensive than they used to be.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think we just talked about this recently on maybe a bonus episode or something, but like in Coeur d'Alene, like a basic new house, just like your standard cookie cutter. And I don't even mean that with a negative connotation, just trying to paint a picture here.
Sure.
Your standard cookie cutter new development is going in and you want a, 2,000 square foot house. That's nothing gigantic.
Yeah.
It's bigger than most apartments, but
Yeah.
it's nothing. We're not talking about 10,000 square feet. Anyways, $400 a square foot to start building. And that's insane. You do a 3,000 square foot house and you're over $1 million.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean,
And I'm not talking about like with high end finishes and like, no, I'm just talking about like what comes with the house, the base model.
yeah. I mean, our house that we got in 2015 in 10 years has essentially tripled in price.
Yeah.
And that's absurd.
That's absurd.
Because wages for, the average worker haven't tripled in price or doubled in price or even gone up by 50% or 20%. Like, it's ridiculous.
No, it's ridiculous. And then, it just feeds so many other problems.
So, I mean, like a mansion like that back when it was built, yes, you would have to have a lot of money, but it wouldn't like houses in general. I mean, it's tough to say with a mansion. I mean, they were so expensive always because that's so huge.
Yeah.
But yeah, like for houses, I would think it wouldn't be as expensive compared to wages because the rest of the houses weren't back then. Like, it's crazy. I wish I could remember the number. I just talked about like on Timesuck, there was this thing called the Great Molasses Flood. It's a really weird historical event where literally a huge container of molasses broke. There was like warning signs for years and killed a bunch of people. Like, oh no, it created a flood that like knocked buildings off their foundations.
Well, okay, but you know what? Like,
sorry, what I was going to say is like then the buildings they had to pay. The company eventually had to pay. And I remember when I was reading how much they paid out for these various houses, I was like, I'm sorry, what? $400 like for this house? Like
what?
Like crazy numbers. And I did the inflation calculation and it still was like, like some house in this, downtown-ish part of Boston would be like the equivalent of like $60,000 or $70,000. Just very different than now.
Yeah, that's crazy. I was just thinking about how thick and viscous molasses is.
Oh, it's a wild
And I'm
story.
like, oh yeah, like enough of it could absolutely knock something down.
Yeah, it was just, I can't remember, hundreds of millions of gallons maybe.
Wow.
But it was just like, yeah, it's a weird story.
Okay, well, we like weird over here. Okay, well, are you ready to sit back and be entertained?
I sure am.
What kind of Layla do you have with you?
I have a blue Layla.
Blue Layla. All right, you and Layla get settled in. We're going on a ride.
Let's do it.
Hello, Dan, Lynze, the Bad Magic team, and all those sweet, fuzzy baby angels.
Hello.
I'm a paranormal equipment builder and tech educator who blends hard science with hauntings.
That's amazing.
And I've had a few experiences that still give me pause. This story was actually prompted by something Lynze said on an episode about how electrical engineers might not admit that there are still unknowns in the world of electricity. And I just wanted to say, I'm currently studying electrical engineering with plans to continue into physics. And I've built my entire paranormal career around admitting that we don't know. Charged field behavior, EM radiation. There are still so many mysteries. Good science, in my opinion, means staying humble in the face of the unexplained. That mindset has led me to some very strange places, like the moment below, where my scientific training and my haunted gut instincts clashed in the dark. Time now for the tale of the X. I grew up in a small town with a long stretch of road that runs beside an old armory. No lights, just thick forest and decades of military training history lingering in the shadows. One night, I hit a deer there. The sheriff confirmed it, and I saw the body the next day. But when I try to remember it, I don't see a deer. What I see is a huge, rusted sheet of metal, rectangular, dotted with oxidizing patches flying through the air like it was being carried on a huge gust of gale force wind. It effectively didn't make sense. That memory glitch started my deep dive into how trauma and neuroplasticity affect memory. Turns out, your brain can rewrite events on the spot, especially if they're distressing. What we remember isn't always what happened. Sometimes it's what we needed to survive it. That realization came back hard during an experience I had at a haunted prison where I used to volunteer. This building is 138 years old, nearly 250,000 square feet, and I've spent more time alone inside it than most. I know its sounds, its smells, and energy like the back of my hand. That night, a group of us were prepping for an event. Most of the 10 or so people went up to the attic, an enormous, pitch-black wing above the cell blocks, to do a little ghost hunting, as one does, because it's a known hotspot. Its dark history is rich, but its most notable story involves a fire at another penitentiary where following, they shipped and crammed 200 to 300 inmates up there. No cells, just chaos. There's a huge support beam structure right in the middle, shaped like an X. We just call it the X. I know, very clever, right? Myself and one other person were filming in the levels below, and eventually we headed up to meet the rest. It's a long walk, probably 350 feet of darkness, and I was not using a flashlight. That's never really bothered me in this place. I've locked up there alone at 3 a.m. without blinking. But when I reached the X, something changed. A gust of wind hit me, and so did something else. A large sheet of painter's plastic, like the kind you hang while drywalling, suddenly wafted towards me. I saw it, I heard it, I felt it brush against me in the pitch dark. I figured it made sense. This old place is always under construction. I brushed it off until something in me screamed to run. Not a panic attack, not fear, just a full body override. My calm, sympathetic nervous system bailed on me like I was prey. And so I bolted. When I made it to the rest of the group, I immediately asked for a flashlight. I had to go back and take a look. I wanted to see exactly where that plastic was so I could rationalize it. But it wasn't there. No plastic, no construction equipment, nothing hanging, nothing at all. And just like the deer, my brain had offered me something mundane to replace something it didn't want me to confront. A sensory placeholder, if you will. I've had a few of these experiences now, moments where memory and reality don't line up, and not in a ghost story way, in a what the hell did I just experience neurologically, spiritually, dimensionally kind of way. Maybe it was just another moment where my brain chose not to record something real, or maybe, just maybe, what I encountered wasn't meant to be remembered clearly. Either way, I haven't walked past the X since. Thanks for reading and for giving a platform to weirdos like me, Lauren.
Thanks, Lauren. What a cool backstory Lauren has.
Yes, I know. Lauren's very interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, Lauren is a hit at parties.
Oh, I mean, at least at our parties.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When people, I think when people find out what Lauren's studying, what she's doing, they're like, I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, you're a scientist? You're studying neurology? You're studying paranormal? What are you doing? They're just immediately confused.
Right. And yeah, but like, very, very cool just to blend the paranormal and science like that. And I'm excited for where Lauren is heading.
Yes.
And all that stuff about memories and connecting memories to the paranormal, that's fascinating.
Yeah. So, I mean, it does make sense to me in like a fight or flight kind of situation. Our brains can take over and we can kind of go limp, go numb. People who commit crimes of passion, they'll say like, I don't even remember it happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our brain can take over and do very interesting things. I just never applied it to the paranormal.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. I'm familiar with like Mandela effect, false memory syndrome. So many terrible things have happened in trials throughout history because of false memories.
Yeah.
Where people's testimony and they are convinced this is what happened, but it definitely did not happen.
Absolutely.
And I never thought about applying that to the paranormal either. Yeah, very, very cool, like new thing to think about with all this.
Yes, which is exactly why I wanted to include it. Not like a super scary story, but a new way of viewing our scary stories.
Exactly. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's head to Baton Rouge to visit Myrtle's plantation. Hello, Dan and Lynze.
Hello.
My husband and I are big fans of the podcast.
Thank you.
We have spent many hours laughing and being creeped out. We recently went to Baton Rouge, Louisiana for vacation. We'd never been to Louisiana before, so we were very excited. One of the first adventures we booked was a night tour of the Myrtle's Plantation, about half an hour away in St. Francisville. When we arrived at the plantation, I had to use the restroom and was hoping that there would be one available. And luckily, there was. And off I went. From the outside, the restroom looked very similar to one that you would find at a park. It was a square building, painted white, with the women on the left and the men on the right. I didn't notice it before, but above the doors were rectangular vents to let in air and let air out. Before using the restroom, I saw a mother and daughter go in and a man go in on his respected side. By the time I went in, I was the only one in the restroom. I did what I needed to do, washed my hands, and after I finished up, I heard someone outside whistle. It was a short, happy tune. I thought, you don't really hear people whistling that much. And I didn't think much more past it. The house was lit by low lighting, which is intended to give off a creepy feeling. We started in the foyer and made our way through the house like any normal tour. Our guide told us tales, facts, and legends and reports people have had while they were staying, working, or taking the tour there. At the end of the tour, many people from the group departed, but a few of us stayed behind and were told an additional story by one of the groundskeepers. He was an older gentleman, probably in his 60s or 70s. We were standing in a breezeway that led from the main house to where the kitchen used to be. He said that it was common for kitchens to be built separately from the main house due to fires being a constant occurrence. When slaves brought meals from the kitchen, they would walk through the breezeway and would either stop at the butler's pantry to add any last-minute garnishes to the food or skip that and walk the food directly into the dining room. It was a rule of the homeowners that the slaves whistle while they brought the food in and as they left after delivering the food. If the slave was whistling, it meant they were not eating the food. This is where the phrase, whistle while you work, comes from. When I heard this, I quickly turned to my husband and gave him a, oh my gosh, kind of look. I told the tour guide my story, and he didn't seem too surprised by it. The tour guides hear that visitors have experiences all of the time. He said that maybe I did, in fact, have an encounter. And I thought back on it. When I had come out of the bathroom, there was no one around. I went back to the car and found my husband wasn't waiting there. Turns out he had gone to the restroom as well. I asked him if he saw anyone else go by or walk into the bathroom. He said he saw a guy going towards the bathroom, but didn't go in. I also thought, why hadn't I heard any other noises? There had been no car doors being opened or shut or locked. I didn't hear any people walk by. I also didn't hear my husband go into the bathroom right next door. And if the vents above the doors were opened, wouldn't I have heard something? Why had the whistling been so clear? I even asked my husband if he had whistled, and he said he didn't, nor did he hear any whistling. So whatever happened, it wasn't malicious. There was never a moment where I felt afraid. Maybe it was just a friendly passerby who trusted me to know that they were there. Thank you for the great content and for being part of our everyday. A huge shout out to my husband, Nicholas, for being my adventure buddy and always being willing to go with me into the unknown. Sincerely, Ashley.
Thank you, Ashley. I know what there's not a paranormal comment, but that the backstory of whistle while you work.
Did you know that?
No,
me either, and it's amazing.
But it's so dark. It's like there's so many. It's like a cutesy little thing. Like I think the song like dun 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 whistle while you work dun 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 dun. And there's just so many examples of that. Like little like Mother Grimm stories you hear as a kid. Like all these, and then you actually learn what they're based on, and you're like, oh my god.
Yes, I know. When I said it's amazing, I wanted to finish that thought. It's like, it's amazing to learn where it comes from, but it's so fucked up. Yeah. I got cut off and I was like, that's not going to age well. That's going to sound real shitty.
No, yeah, that's
White woman in Coeur d'Alene says it's great that slaves had to whistle.
Oh my God.
I can picture the headline.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
And also just the beginning of that story, I know it wasn't where the paranormal stuff was centered, but I thought it was going to be when actually we talked about like the restroom.
Yeah.
And I did just have a thought of like, oh my God, public restroom would be one of the worst places to have an intense paranormal encounters. Like mid going to the bathroom, pants at your ankles.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
you're so vulnerable.
Yes.
And just like that's a bad moment to like need to run and get away from something.
I don't know why I have to take it one step further, but I'm like, oh man, women who wear jumpsuits, we know that like every time we go to the bathroom, we're like, ah, shit, I'm naked. And now I'm like, oh no, I wouldn't even be able to like pull my clothes on fast enough. I would just have to run out naked. That's it. That's all there is to it. Or me and the ghost are sharing my jumpsuit now.
And can you imagine running out naked and being like, there's a ghost. Like, no one would believe you. They're just like, she is batshit crazy.
And now I'm going to need toilet paper to be stuck to some part of your body or your shoe. Like, I just need to take it to the next level. I need it to be bigger.
But that was another, I love these little quick hitters. They're nice for variety and shake things up.
Yeah, exactly. And again, you can catch the full Myrtle's Plantation story on bonus episode 25.
Oh, as far as like the lore and
from
stuff.
1022. Yeah, if you want to dig into that, you can find that on Patreon. Okay, one more. And just a reminder, the setup for this one was, can you get in a fist fight with a ghost? Hey, Suckmaster and Queen of the Suck.
Hello.
I've been listening to Timesuck ever since the beginning. Started listening to Scared to Death from episode 1 and have been a space lizard for so long that I don't remember when I signed up.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
I've been on the fence about sending this story ever since you started doing listener stories, but here we go anyways. Time now for the tale of She Belongs to Me. I had been out of the army for a couple of years, medically discharged after 12 years, 2 tours in Afghanistan. The first trip I was infantry, earned my combat infantryman's badge. Can't they make that easier to say? I changed my MOS after that go round and became a CID special agent. If you've watched NCIS, just change Navy to Army. I was living in an apartment in Clear Lake, a suburb on the south side of Houston. My then girlfriend had just moved in a couple of weeks before strange things had started to happen. She had the first experience. I was a mechanic and came home filthy every day. The first thing I did when I arrived home daily was jump in the shower and try to get the grease and oil off my body. This random weekday was just like all the others. Get home, say hi, ask her about her day, then take a shower. I exited the shower and dried myself off when I heard my girlfriend talking to someone. I didn't even have a chance to check myself in the mirror to make sure I had washed off all the grime before I wrapped a towel around my waist and walked into the kitchen. "Who are you talking to?" I asked. I figured it was her dad or one of her sisters. The first thing I did was look for her phone, which was nowhere to be seen. She was cooking dinner and would have had to have had it on speakerphone. Her voice was the only one I heard, so things were immediately not adding up. My girlfriend gave me what she thought was a natural response to the question. "You." She looked as confused as I did. She went on to say, "I was cutting vegetables, and I saw you walk by out of the corner of my eye. I saw you go to the couch, sit down, and cross your legs. I asked you how your day went, and you didn't answer. So I asked again. That's when you walked in and asked me who I was talking to." I have a very irrational fear of ghosts. I hate the idea of being able to be touched by something, though I can't touch them back. I'd rather go down swinging to a bear than be ineffectually swinging into the air. I did not want to live in a haunted apartment. "What did you see? Tell me exactly what you saw," I said. I was fucking terrified. My girlfriend said, "I saw a shadow walk by the kitchen. It was your size, walked like you, so I figured it was you. Why? Did you see a ghost? I don't know. I just told you what I saw. I walked over to her, hugged her, and said, I'm sorry. I just don't like ghosts. We let it go, enjoyed our evening, and tried to forget about it. And I did, until the very next day. It was the same routine when I came home, and when I was checking to make sure my oil-stained face was clean, I saw it. I saw it in the mirror, walking from the bedroom to the living room. I vividly watched this me-sized shadow move through the hallway. My eyes followed it. I was terrified, but I tried to shake it off. Dripping wet, with a towel around my waist, I walked out of the bathroom and asked my girlfriend if she saw it too. But this time it was just me. She didn't see a thing. I told her what I saw, and honestly, I think she was relieved to have not been the only one to have an experience. At about 4 a.m. that night or morning, I woke up and looked around the room. I don't know why. It's never happened before. And that's when I saw that fucker. Standing in the door, full human man shape and no eyes. I knew he was looking at us, though. I treated this the same way I did when a rocket hit near our tent in Kenindar. I rolled over and said, fuck it. If I die, I die. I didn't have enough time to get back to sleep before it was in front of me. I couldn't ignore it now. Reverberating in the room, I heard, she belongs to me. Now, I don't have a fight or flight response, ever. Just fight. And that's what I did. This motherfucker hit me square in the chest while I was still lying down, right where my heart is, and it hurt. The fight was so weird, and it didn't feel like a dream, but everything about it acted like one. I felt the pain of being hit and of hitting it, but the environment changed depending on who was winning. When I was getting my ass beat, we were in a warehouse with wet floors and fires everywhere. When I had the upper hand, we were back in the bedroom. We spent a lot of time in the warehouse. I was on my knees, trying to catch my breath, and it was mocking me. I felt a hand on my shoulder, and then another voice came in, and it said, "You can do this. You're not alone." And somehow that actually helped. I stood up, and we began fighting again. The other voice came back, warm, caring, and deep. "You know you can't do this on your own. Say the words. Finish this." And out of nowhere, these words came to me. "By the authority granted in me as a follower of Christ, I banish you from this world, never to return." We were in the warehouse. I heard all over, but I watched it disappear. My chest hurt where it first hit me, and it still hurts when I think about this story. I don't know if everything that happened was a dream or not. Honestly, I hope it wasn't, because otherwise I'd feel crazy. We never had another incident after that. No more shadows, no more heavy feelings, and everything just got better. I think this could have been my brain dealing with a huge fear of mine in the best way that it could. However, the aftermath makes me think it wasn't. The chest pain, the lack of sightings after that night, it might have been something that followed her from her past relationship and something that didn't want me in her life. If that was the plan, it ultimately got what it wanted because she eventually broke up with me. I hope she's okay, and I hope whatever that thing was has stayed away. Thanks for your time, Chris.
Thank you, Chris. Yeah, thank you for your service. And I never thought about that fear, and I'm trying to remember exactly how Chris worded it, but I don't want to be hit by something I can't hit back.
Oh, yeah, sure. Like that kind of interaction with a ghost of like, oh, I'm afraid of a ghost because it can get to me, but I can't get to it.
Right. That is crazy how we've heard so many stories about spirits, demons, whatever they might be, interacting with the physical world and actually hitting people.
Yeah.
Throwing someone across the room, that kind of stuff. But I can't think of any stories where someone then was able to grab the entity and throw the entity. I mean, it's with Chris, a prayer or something.
Right.
But you can't fight it.
Right.
Yeah, that is extra terrifying.
I know. I never thought about that angle of ghosts, demons. We can fight it with words, with Bible verses, with blessings, with prayers, with all these verbal things, but we can never just reach out and grab it and just smash its face to the ground.
Right.
But somehow it can, I don't even know, obviously I've never been possessed, so I wouldn't know, but when we see, the Hollywood version of a demonic possession and this child has been picked up and thrown across the room.
Yeah.
Does the child or the person feel the picking up sensation, or do they just feel the collision with the wall?
I think they feel the picking up. Yeah, because there's examples of like people who have been grabbed and there's like, handprints or scratch marks left. And, and they
you're
feel
right.
when that happens.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. But why can it touch us and we can't grab it?
It's not
These
fair.
rules are bullshit.
It's not fair.
It's not fair.
Those were great.
Okay, good.
I love the variety of today's stories.
Yeah, I thought it was fun.
Mm-hmm, me too.
Yeah. Do you want to do some shout outs?
Nah, I'll skip it today.
Nah, not feeling it.
Just not feeling it.
Okay, that's all right. You can just move on to something else.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I'll do it. I would love to thank our Annabelles for supporting our show here. Yeah, thank you so much. We appreciate it so much. Caden Horn, Mark J, Kayla Collins, DJ H Brown. I started to go to DJ Honey. DJ H Brown following DJ Honey. And then Nick Sachow. Sachow? I'll say Sachow. Sorry, Nick, if I didn't get that right. And then Brittany Swens.
Nice. I'd like to thank the following Annabelles for supporting us on Patreon. Brittany Mikey.
It's pronounced McKee.
No, it's not. We went back and forth.
Mackay.
Manky.
It's pronounced Makalaka.
Brittany Mikey.
Yes.
Brooke. Also Brooks. Brooke, is your last name really also Brooks?
I just came across another name like that today, and it always cracks me up. Who's like an ancient like sea captain.
Yeah.
Edward Edwards.
Stop.
Yep.
Why?
What were your parents thinking?
Dick Richards. Dick. It's like, what are we doing here?
I know.
Guys,
funny.
get more inventive. Maybe that's why we have so many crazy names now, because it's like, not crazy, but unique, interesting, unorthodox, where it's like people are like, fuck it, I'm not going to have Dick.
Yeah. I always think when I think of these double names, I think of our buddy Doug Mellard's joke about he's now the Seattle Seahawks quarterback, Sam Darnold.
Oh, yeah.
Needs to have a son named Arnold just for Arnold Darnold.
Yeah, I mean
that's a killer name.
Killer name. Okay, carrying on.
Yeah.
Jesse, Marlena Stone. Marlena, you have a great name.
Marlena Stone.
Yeah.
What are you, like an actress or like a rock star?
God, whatever you are, you're fucking hot. You're incredibly talented.
Putting a lot of pressure on Marlena right now.
No pressure. It's just a compliment.
Yeah. Well, now she has to, that's the name she has to live up to.
Well, she already does. That's the thing about Marlena Stone.
Yeah.
She just is. She's kind of effervescent.
She's just Marlena Stone.
God damn. Marlena's a great name, though. You don't hear it enough.
No, that's an awesome name.
Okay, check out this one. Tiller Scrow.
Tiller Scrow.
Tiller.
Okay.
That's great.
Tiller Scrow, yeah.
Yeah. Also, I hope someone in your family was like a farmer and they were like till the land and then you just got Tiller.
I wish Tiller's last name was Miller. Tiller Miller.
Stop. No, that's a waste. Okay. And Caitlin King. Also a great name.
Oh, yeah. You know what? All great names.
All great names. But can we all agree that Marlena Stone is especially epic?
Marlena Stone.
Yes.
You gotta be fronting some fucking rock band.
Yeah. A friend of ours.
Swagger.
A friend of ours named their daughter, and I was just like, God damn, that's just a good name, I'm like, I don't want to say her name.
Oh, gotcha.
But just it's like, there's a lot of pressure on parents.
Yeah. Yeah, there is. Okay, spoopy. We're skipping. We're skipping, right?
Not skipping. We are recording in advance, trying to, get ahead of the holiday rush. And sometimes what happens then is with spoopy shout outs, they're just not in yet. So, get your holiday shout outs in, you guys, or don't.
Well, that's our spoopy shout out less show. Thanks for continuing to send in your personal tales of terror to mystory@scaredtodeathpodcast.com. You can email us for everything else at info@scaredtodeathpodcast.com. Thank you to Logan Keith for scoring today's show. Thanks to Marlena Stone for rocking it.
Yeah, Marlena.
Thanks to Heather Rylander.
Oh my God, maybe Marlena's the sidekick to DJ Honey.
No, Marlena's not a sidekick.
Hey, this is Marlena Stone.
DJ Honey is excited.
I'm here with.
Yeah, DJ Honey. It would be DJ Honey bringing Marlena Stone to talk about her latest album.
She'd have like a very soft, sexy, sultry voice. She probably smokes cigarettes though, just a little gravelly. I can't fake that.
But she sings like a beast.
Like
No, it's guttural. It's like very raw, bluesy.
The thing is, we've been listening to a lot of Florence and the Machine, so I think we're just, Okay, carry on. Anyways, sorry, Marlena.
Thanks to Heather Rylander for organizing the My Story emails. Thanks to book editor Drew Atana, polishing and preparing listener stories for book number 7. Thanks to Olivia Lee for finding the second story I shared this week. I was able to find the first. We are on Facebook and Instagram where we post pics that accompany episodes and more at Scared to Death Podcast. We also have a private Facebook group called Creeps and Peepers, full of fellow horror lovers. Big thanks to the All Seen Eyes, the Creeps and Peepers moderators, who just are truly an amazing group of people.
Yes, they are.
Enjoy your nightmares, Creeps and Peepers. Go check out Marlena Stone wherever she's performing, and hope you're scared to death.
Bye.
If spirits threaten me in this place, fight water by water and fire by fire. Banish their souls into nothingness and remove their powers until the last trace. Let these evil beings flee through time and space. Evil may pass through, but hath no home here within, scared to death.
Mad Magic Productions.
Sorry, you have more?
Oh no, I wrote.